Support the show and get your Everyone Loves Guitar t-shirts, hoodies, and mugs at guitarmerch.com, where you'll also find other cool music and guitar t-shirts. That's guitarmerch.com. Hey everybody, this is Craig Garber. Welcome to Everyone Loves Guitar. Got a great guest with us today. Awesome guitar player. This guy is super solid. We'll talk about his playing actually. With Casey Aylward from Astronoid, Aylward, Aylward. He's lead guitar player from Astronoid out of Massachusetts. And if you're listening to the audio, you are missing his awesome brick-faced apartment here. It's just gorgeous. So let me give you a quick background. And first, wanted to say thanks to Monica Side Evanson for connecting us. Thanks, Monica. Casey's a Massachusetts-based musician, guitarist who for the last 20 years has been writing and performing music from punk to black metal, taking influence equally. And this was interesting. I didn't expect to see Elliott Smith's name appear after listening to you. But taking influence equally from Elliott Smith and video game soundtracks to progressive metal and punk. He's a lead guitar player for Astronoid, which is a metal/shoegaze band. I hope you're okay with that. I hate to categorize bands.
So hard to categorize it, but it's about as good as you get.
Okay. Metal shoegaze band. These guys rock. Started in 2012. The band's released 2 EPs, 3 albums, including their most recent album that just dropped, Radiant Bloom. And I think you're going to be hearing a lot more about Astronoid as their career unfolds. Casey, thanks for your time, man. I appreciate you coming on the show. Thanks for having me, Craig. Yeah, man, my pleasure. How did you first get your career started? And what were some of your challenges early on once you joined Astronoid as far as getting velocity, getting momentum for the band?
We'd always been in bands, and it's funny. It's like starting a career. That was never the plan. It was just kind of one band after the next, writing songs, And then I think Astronoid was the first one that really allowed us any opportunity to do any real touring or got us any true exposure. And the first one that caught momentum. And so once that happened, it was we were lucky and fortunate enough to be able to capitalize on it. It wasn't a intentional thing. I mean, it's intentional to write and release good music and hope that it hits people, but not intentional that, we got with a lot of preparation, we got obviously some opportunities that we're incredibly fortunate to get and capitalize on those. So I would just say probably the release of Air is when, a shift happened. We management on board, booking agent on board, a little bit of attention, and we were just able to kind of hit the road and capitalize on it. And then, almost 10 years later, we find ourselves, I guess not 10 years, but like 6 or 7 years later, we find ourselves here at our 3rd LP. So just kind of grinding it out, truthfully.
Well, all 3, Air was phenomenal. I loved Astronoid, that second record, just one great track after another. And of course, Radiant Bloom is good. The new record is awesome. But yeah, I could see how when Air was released, things started happening because there is a lot of great stuff on there, man.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like we only have the perspective now, but like when Air happened, there wasn't like a ton like it. I think that blending genres or doing anything like that isn't ever a strange thing, but I don't think there was a ton of people doing what we were doing on Air. You said like the mix of like shoegaze and metal, there was that, but there's more genres like obviously mixed in there that I think made it stand out from others. And of course the all clean vocals, I think is a little bit more common now to like mix something aggressive and heavy and then have clean vocals over it. But at the time, like in that, because it was raw too. I think that's why a lot of people like to go back to Air or State Air as like, for them, like a pivotal thing. I'm happy to hear you like the self-titled record because that seems to be a divisive record in our catalog, and it's like every time we release a record, it's always going to be compared to your latest stuff. And, we were so proud of self-titled, and it was like a statement for us. There was like no blast beats. It was very songwriting focused. Of course, I think it has the tenets of what makes Astronoid in it.
Yeah.
But there's a divisive record. Like you liked it or you really didn't like it. And there was a lot of people that really didn't like it. And that always surprises me because, people will reach back to Air. It's like, oh, they don't sound anything like they did on Air. But if they listen to the new record, it's not Air 2.0, but it's like, I think we've taken the best of what is our first two records and a little bit from the EPs, and the songwriting, everything's better about the new record. So thanks for liking the self-titled record.
I love it.
It's interesting when people think that we've made such a wild step out, because it's like, I think we're right in the pocket right now.
I would agree. And also, I just want to clarify, I was talking about your self-titled record, and I said, and then the new album's good. I didn't mean it like it's good, it's not as good. I was just looking down
brand new.
Yeah, it's a great record. I just love Astronoid. So that's my, your self-titled is my, but I love Eyes, Drown, Decades. The last song, Decades on Radiant Plume is awesome. And we'll talk about that afterwards. But I thought you guys have done a great job just evolving. I mean, you want to sort of mature and grow as a band. You guys are young, man, and you should be doing that.
Yeah, I think that's a lot about it too. It's like, we're a new band in terms of like the pantheon of like bands that we revolve around, and with bands we've certainly been on the road with, but we've been playing music for a long time, so in a sense in our careers it is still early on, and it seems to be like we haven't had that go away to come back moment yet, which I seem to think is like a big part for a lot of bands. You know what I mean? It's like we're still on, like, I would say, like the first wave of generation of people that are listening to our records, whereas like I feel like very few people have had the chance to jump on somewhere that wasn't at the beginning, and that's when I feel like artists' music is appreciated more, I guess. I don't really know how to explain it, but yeah,
I know what you're saying. You're saying that I know you articulate it right. You're on the first wave of fans, and you haven't either taken a break or something that I understand.
Artistically,
it's funny, man. That might not happen. That it may just be a steady progressive growth. You may not have. You just don't know how.
You can't call the shot either.
Yeah. It's like you may skip that and then have a massive career, and then you won't be caring about that. You didn't have that go away moment, It's just
right.
It's
no,
weird.
It just seems to be like, if you follow trends in music, like you can only tell by looking back too. It just seems that like bands have that like it's almost like a planned thing where you have the go away to come back moment. I don't know. It's just something I've noticed.
Well, I do think you're going to have a very successful career. The band is so tight. And we'll talk about this in a minute. Your production and the engineering is really clean. I mean, I don't know who is your engineer. Is it the same person?
Brett and Dan.
Are you
it's all
kidding
in band.
me?
Yeah, all of it's done by ourselves. I mean, out of necessity, but also at this point, kind of by choice. I mean, around self-titled. Kind of by choice. We started having Magnus. His last name's escaping me. I don't want to say Lindberg, but he's in the band called Luna. He lives in Sweden. We started sending him our records to be mastered, but other than that, engineering and mixing is all done by Brett and Dan.
Wow, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. They are. Yeah, the engineering is phenomenal on there. The miking, the place. That. Holy shit, that's great. I'm shocked. That's really amazing. How did you first get into playing? I mean, you really are a fantastic player. And also, what attracted you to playing fast?
It's so hard. Like you try to, I think just being a kid and probably watching TV or having older brothers, like hearing music and just wanting to, I don't know. It's at first, it's just like, oh, I wonder if I could do that. And then asking for a guitar and getting it and then taking it seriously and just being something that I latched onto and I really loved, never let it go. And then in terms of the fast stuff, I think it's like, for me, obviously metal I got into like a little later on. I would know 13, 14, but like that SoCal fast skate punk
later
stuff.
On. 13,
yeah, well,
14.
right. Well, I got into music really young, like two older brothers,
Okay.
So I would say like I bought my first CD at like 9 or 10.
Okay.
So, I mean, I know that kids now just have an iPod and they can get whatever they want, but that was I had to go out and get the music myself. You know what I mean? So that SoCal skate punk was really fast. So, you develop that right hand, and then, metal comes and you're like, wow, this is awesome too. It has the same energy. But in terms of like playing fast, when I was 13, I went to like a sleepaway guitar camp in Connecticut and got turned on to all sorts of music. Like one of the instructors turned me on to the Mars Volta, and then another guy was a shred guy and turned me on to Paul Gilbert and all that kind of stuff. So I remember on the way home from that, I bought a Paul Gilbert instrumental record and a Mars Volta record. So, that's how it happened, kind of weird shred stuff.
I had Paul on here a long time ago. He's a pretty interesting guy and a tremendous player. Yeah, a while ago. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a unique, seems to be a unique soul. Not just playing, but also.
No, he's a pretty deep guy. He's got a good character. And just for the record, for anybody who pays attention to these things, Casey has probably the most rock and roll hair for 2022 so far. So, man. Yeah, man. Who is there a
going gray?
Better gray than bald, my friend.
Yeah.
Who no sympathy from me. Who handles synths? The synths.
Dan. Because he's always done that kind of stuff, but he went during the pandemic. I think he bought like his first like analog synth, so he's way into that now. So I think whereas other records, probably Air and self-titled, it was probably software instruments. I believe this on Radiant Bloom, it's actual analog synthesizer. So that's Dan's department. Well, songs will be done, and they'll come back with a little candy on top. So.
Well, he does a phenomenal job because that really, I enjoy that aspect of your music. It's very positive. I find it very uplifting, but it still rocks. And I think it's a good component of what you do, man.
Yeah. It's always fun to see what he's going to do synth wise. And I don't think it ever stands out in a negative way. It always stands to bolster the songs. It adds to, well, I guess it starts the record, a big synth swell. So
yeah. It's a fantastic component of your guys' music, man. I went through your whole catalog, and like I said, it was great to see you doing new things, and I thought growing musically on each record. Did you learn anything new from your experience making the new album, Radiant Bloom?
Well, it was definitely an exercise in, like isolationist feedback and, chatting about song structure and reworking things and Brett being the primary songwriter, going away and thinking he's really captured the moment, and then, us spending months on a batch of songs just to throw them away, and, working on really, I would say, focused and active listening and having a mind for structure without actually being able to play the songs in a room. You know what I mean? Almost trying to live in the song without it being performed, which was strange, and then that also afforded us the time to just sit and live with the songs for a long time. So when it came time to do the solos or finishing touches, it's almost like just furnishing a house you've been in for a while. You kind of know the layout, and an idea of what you want, so you just gotta kind of do it.
That's a good analogy. So you guys are all close to each other too, physically, right?
But now we are. Brett just moved back, so now we're all in either New Hampshire or Massachusetts. It's the first time in like a long time, so we're psyched. Psyched going forward,
Yeah, that's going to be a lot easier. What did you get anything out of the pandemic? Like a lot of people got, some good stuff out of it. Whether it's enjoying being alone or was it just pretty shitty for you?
I would say it was a mixed bag. It definitely reframed some stuff. I think one thing I got out of it was that, I've been going not necessarily with Astronoid, but just in bands since 2013, touring nonstop. And, you always have the crisis of identity where it's like, all right, well, I don't have this anymore. Who am I? And I think I was able to find the sweet spot. Like, I don't necessarily like I know that guitar is my life and music is my life, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like, if I'm not on the road, doesn't mean that my life's over, and just kind of was nice to kind of step back and frame some things for me. And I don't know, I guess I enjoy being home, you know. It was like nice to, like, I bought my first bed because I just never had to have one, you know, like shit like that, you know. You know, relationship stuff, got out of a bad relationship or a relationship that I didn't really want to be in, and then on the tail end of it got into like the best relationship, so that's good.
That's great, man.
You know, I guess we got a record out of it. That was cool. Yeah, it was a good time to be creative, but you know, like anyone, everyone has their own spin on it because everyone went through it, which is kind of a unique situation.
Let me ask you this: if you're comfortable talking about it, when you said like
Anything.
the who am I stuff,
Yeah.
many years ago, I had this job. I was I became a financial planner, and I had to make literally like 400 phone calls, cold calls a week, and I was working so much, and I wasn't doing very well, especially in the beginning. I mean, I was like, you know, some weeks I'd be like 1 for 400, right? And so I put this sign. I heard someone said, like, you got to make sure that you have a split between who you are and what you do. So I just hung this sign in my office. It was like a bare walled office, except for this little black frame and a white thing that I had printed on my computer. It said who you are. And then there was a line that said what you do. Yeah. But in music, that's a very difficult thing to do because
very hard to thread that needle.
Yeah.
Because it is who I am.
Right.
Is what I do.
Yeah.
But what it isn't is that, all right, so this is the best way that I can explain it, right? It's like anytime you do anything, not necessarily for a living, but it occupies your time, it's kind of hard to see the forest from the trees, right? So it's it's easy for me to walk through the club and, you know, there's, you know, from hundreds to thousands of people every day, just beeline to the green room. This is my life. Where are we tomorrow? And it's like, instead of like that, like taking the time to connect with people and appreciate like the moments you have, right? It's the same thing when you don't have anything. It's like you have to reframe, like when you can't do anything but we can't leave your house. It's like, well, you know, well, I'm going to have the foreseeable future to play guitar. You know what I mean?
Right.
Don't have to pick it up today. So it's always just kind of living in those moments between. It's about balance, striking the balance, you know, about, I don't know, if this is what you always wanted, treat it like it's what you always wanted. You know what I mean? It's like that saying, it's like, remember that what you have now, like, is what you wanted this at one point. You know what I mean?
Right. It's and I was reading this thing. I read this book recently called The Gap and the Gain, and it's kind of about how you feel about yourself at certain times. And they said one of the things to do if what you have isn't you're not feeling it right now. In these examples, say you hate your house. Imagine if you didn't have the house. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, I love this place.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's the space I've been living in for a while now, because it's like it's almost like watching your life play out and you hitting the pause button and being like, okay, so let's talk about this, but you're talking to yourself. You know what I mean? And it's you're and so it's funny that you just read that book. I just finished this. I finally made it all the way through, but I've read parts of it for a long time. It's like The War of Art.
Oh yeah, by Stephen Pressfield.
Yeah, and it's just about like how it's about encountering resistance, right?
Yeah,
and how the resistance is like, it's not benevolent or malevolent. It just is, you know, and it's you basically. And the way I interpret it, it's like you being in your own way, and it's and a lot about that, and you know, getting out of your own way. It's like it opens doors or closing doors. It's like, I don't know. It's cool to like not be like so cold and calculated about life, but like but it's almost like peeling off like a layer and just like being able to label the resistance. And then once you label the resistance, you understand, or hopefully you can understand why it's there and what your part of it is and what you can control. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's like framing everything. Maybe it's just getting older. I don't know, but
it's a great book. I read that when it came out. It's like in the early 90s, I think. Really good book. It's funny. My Casey, my son, he he was not a good student when he was younger, and he was really, I don't know why, but he just didn't do well. And I think this is maybe like first, second grade. And he came home to me and he said one time, he goes, Dad, I'm really, he didn't say disgusted, but the equivalent of whatever he said was, I'm really disgusted with myself. I'm 2 levels below where every other kid is. And I don't like being there. And I had this thing on my desk at the time. I think someone had given it to me because I wouldn't have bought it. Like just a remote control, like a video game remote control, but it was made out of wood or whatever. And I said, hey man, here's the deal. And I gave him that thing and I said, you are in control. I said, if you want to get out of it, because I thought of that when you said resistance. He had some resistance that was going on. I said, this is up to you. Just like you can play this video game, you are in control here, man. So you got to figure out what you need to do. Of course, you want to talk to me, I'll help you, but you got to work harder. And to his credit, he finished the semester 1 level ahead of average. So I was really happy for him. As a kid, I just was happy that he took the, it's hard to do when you're young sometimes. And I was just,
it's a wild thing to hear as a kid, but that's also like, I mean, that's pretty good parenting on your end. I mean, I don't know that I have the wisdom or foresight to try to have that deep of a moment with a child. I mean, I have a lot of nieces and nephews, but yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I was really happy for him.
I'll have to hold on to that one.
Yeah, man. Well, you get knocked around enough, you get a few nuggets out of it. That's all I can tell you. Yeah. Do you, all right, let's talk about some of my favorite Astronoid songs. Let's go back to Air, okay? And the opening track, Incandescent. I mean, it's just a great, epic track, great opener. Tell me about that track.
The track's interesting. It's like, I think people always expect a good opener from us. And I think it started there. Big epic opener to like introduce, and then you follow with like some sort of outrageous song. That's kind of how our records are set up. And yeah, just like big, it's atmospheric. It was, I used to love opening with it because it gives you kind of a few minutes to warm up. Like it's almost
it does.
It's almost as pragmatic as it is like symbolic on a record, right? It's like, all right, we can get here, we can warm up. It's like it's not too much can go wrong in it. So you can get levels. I can make sure that everything's going well, and then you can jump right into the set. That's a cool one. I think it's would have been one of the songs I would have showed someone if it was like an intro to Astronoid years ago. That's a cool one. I also think it's that one's an interesting one for the algorithm because I think it's maybe our most streamed song online, but it's because it's the first song on our first record. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay. So you think it has more
are willing to hit play on that one? You know what I mean?
Okay. You think
Not
that's
to get, clinical or internet-y about it, but I just think that's funny.
No, but take it. Take it any way you can get it, man.
It seems like as long as if they can get through that into Up and Atom, it seems like we have a fan. It's like, that's like I would say that's probably our calling card song.
That's so funny. It's a great song, and it's a really good way to open the record. And it's funny what you said because it gives you time to to prepare and get ready. But I'm just thinking, like you think about like Dark Side of the Moon or Rush 2112, they all open with like stuff like that. So you're in good company there.
Yeah, and it's also it's putting a lot of trust in the listener too, or a lot of responsibility in like a modern listener that they would be able to recognize what an intro track is and then stay in. For me, I'm all about that. I mean, I'm still like a record guy,
Yeah.
And then I used to like, oh, I'm proud of being a record guy, but then you're just wondering like, I'm still that, but like, it doesn't discredit any, you want to, speaking of threading the needle, I don't want to sound like the old dude that's just like, well, I only listen to records. What if you release one song? I'm not interested. So it's like kind of trying to hit the sweet spot with that one too. Cause I'm not opposed to that, but I still love like a journey, you know what I mean? And I think it's because as I get older, my time becomes more valuable. Mm-hmm. So if I find a record that I like the whole thing, I feel that's a huge win. If I
Yeah.
have the time to sit down and listen to a record, man, what's better than that? You know?
Yeah. I think most really diehard music fans probably are looking for that.
Yeah.
They're looking for a journey, you know, and I know you said in today's attention deficit, that probably is a problem. Do you guys find that a problem? Like when you're touring, like do people literally have a lack of attention or?
No, because I don't think people accidentally end up at our shows.
Yeah, I don't
I think like when we play with bigger bands like Ghost or Coheed and Cambria, maybe.
Sure.
But that's always a good thing. We want that. Like we don't go to support bigger bands and be like, they're all going to be there for us. Like we know the deal, but like you don't accidentally end up at an Astronoid show. So
yes,
you're there for it. I mean, and I think we just made a set list we're doing a couple of headlining shows before this tour, and it's like, you know, we're playing for like, I don't know, the first set list that Brett created that he wanted to go through was like an hour and 20 minutes. And I was like, I don't want to see my favorite band for an hour and 20 minutes. So it's like a lot to ask, but you know, it's been like, we played, I think in 2021, we played 2 shows. That's the least amount of shows I've played since I've been 13 with him.
God.
So,
wow.
I mean, I'll enjoy the time on stage.
Sure,
truly.
sure.
Yeah.
And you can always change if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
It's not permanent. Off self-titled Astronoid, the song Lost.
Yeah.
What a great track,
love that.
man.
I love that song. And when we were working on that record, I was working with Brett's dad. He's an electrician. And Brett's dad, obviously, we would show him stuff. And he just loved Lost right away. So I think that was like for Brett, not only like symbolically from his father, like, but also like, oh, this is a really cool, like, that's the way that I think that we evolved a little bit. Like the fact that we put like a down tempo song on a record and then, you know, just to break it up too. And then we were thinking like, you don't write thinking, well, some people might, I don't think we do consciously, that you write so you can perform live and you can affect the dynamics of a live set. But you know, we really didn't have much to bring it down. So right when self-titled came out, we were playing Lost a lot to maybe make our set a little moody, make it more than one note. And I will never forget our manager, not to roast him, but he fucking hated that song.
Really?
And couldn't stand it. And, you know, it was one of the ones, not that we would have to fight for it, but it was definitely one of those ones that we really stood behind and like, yeah, this is like a statement that we want to make. And I like that song a lot. It's cool. It's groovy, which is different, not different for us, but in a way that it's like down tempo. It has a nice groove to it.
Great.
It's minimal until obviously the build. I like that. That was a cool song for us.
It's a great song. I really enjoy it.
And one to like revisit too. Like I was talking to someone about this the other day about the idea of there's a feeling you battle 2 feelings when you find something that you didn't know existed in music. You go, how have I gone this long without knowing this? You feel like you've been robbed because, you know, pivotal experiences in your life could have been there. You could have seen some shows. But on the other hand, now you have this treasure trove of a catalog that you get to go dive into. Yeah. And I think that if anyone finds that for us, like Lost could be a song for them that they're like, whoa, you know what I mean? Like they can come
definitely.
back
Yeah. I would agree with that. It's a great track. And then off the new record, Radiant Plume, Decades, man, 7 minutes long. I loved it. It's just a great way to like finish that record. Tell me about that track.
I agree. When Brett sent me that song, I knew it was going to open or close the record. I was thinking closing the record. And I remember he wasn't sure if it was going to be an Astronoid song. And I said, this is one of my favorite Astronoid songs of all time. I think that he needed that push in that direction to be like, he's like, I know I like this, but I'm not sure. And I was like, this is absolutely opening or closing the record, because we were having, you know, we went through so many songs that we weren't sure which direction it was. And I think right about the time he hit on Sleep Whisper, he knew what the direction was going to be. And that was a later track, Decades. And I was like, man, this is kind of one of the ones where I knew would allow, like, even if people didn't like it, which I thought would not be possible. And the feedback has been like, Decades is a standout track on the record. Everything I've seen, and I try not to read a lot, but that one seems to be a special one connecting. And rightfully so. It's a brilliant song. And not to sound too confident about it.
No, it's a brilliant song.
But,
it is a great track, man.
But it's that one's like for sure one of my favorites. That's, in my opinion, that's going to be a setlist staple for as long as we're a band.
That's awesome.
It's a killer song.
That's great, man. I really dug it. Tell me, Casey, tell me your top 3 musical experiences that you've had and what made them so much fun or so memorable.
Wow. I think probably seeing Metallica with Brett when we were 12 years old, I think 12 or 13. I remember us headbanging so hard that I couldn't lift my neck the next day. That was like the first real bang over,
Bang over.
So that one was good. I would say, the more I think about it, probably going to that guitar camp. I think it was National Guitar Workshop when I was a kid. Not only because, like, probably developmentally wise, it probably influenced a good deal about why I can interface with people and appear outgoing, because, I was a kid and I was like alone. So I had to kind of navigate through that. But also a lot of the recommendations and things I was exposed to there, I can trace pretty definitively to be like a big tent poles in my musical journey. That'd be number 2, not in any order, of course.
Sure.
And then, I guess number 3 would just be in early aughts, quitting my job to go tour. I think it's a blanket statement. And of course that includes Astronoid, but just that jump of, the first big jump of like being at a crossroads in my life and thinking it was like, oh, this is going to be the craziest thing I've ever done. In some ways it was, but in some ways it showed you that you can make the jump and you'll land on your feet and you'll be fine afterwards. And even if you aren't, you are.
Yeah.
And you can, and it's a greater metaphor for bigger things in life. It goes back to the book. It's like identifying the resistance without knowing.
Yeah.
And knowing like your role in that resistance. And, if something's not happening the way you want it to, it's probably because of you. You know what I mean? And just taking the leap.
Man, what a great lesson to learn at a young age. Congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah, truly. Yeah. And you don't think of it. Again, it's like, you don't know that until you look back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But
you can identify it that way, after that.
You said about the Connecticut camp, it made me appear to be more extroverted. Are you basically an introvert?
I think so.
Yeah.
You would never believe that, but I talk about it all the time with wife and close friends. It's like everything. If you track everything I do, everything is so extroverted. But like, if left to my own devices, I might not leave this room. I have days where I don't speak to anyone. I don't want to say I prefer it, but like that's so comfortable for me.
Yeah, I get it. You know what? I've had almost 900 guests on here, and that's pretty common. And I think it's because you have to be fairly introverted to become a musician. You got to sit alone in a room for hours and hours at a time, days on end. I mean, you got to be comfortable with that to get good at your instrument. And if you're not, but most people that do that do have some introverted tendencies. So I think that's pretty common.
And it's also like the curiosity to go inward, right?
Yeah, I think so. And then like a lot of guys I've spoken to have, when they go on stage, it's like their alter ego almost. They're not.
Yeah. And that's the main thing that everyone says. It's like, well, if you're introverted, you have no problem playing in front of 1,000 people. It's like, yeah, you're right. That's a part I can't explain, where it's like, I don't want, any attention really on me, but I have no problem. But you go tour and you're in a band. It's like the most look at me thing you could do. And it's like, that's the part that I can't explain. I mean, and everyone in my band too. I mean, I would say Matt is very friendly and outgoing, and everyone kind of can be, but it's a band full of like more or less introverted people, and I can't answer for them either. Yeah. Why we are able to do that, and why
you want to express yourself. You got no choice. If you want to express,
but people, it's so easy to be like. I think people just like the connotation that they have of people who do music in general, or performing, or any ideas they have about it can cloud any other sort of explanation as to why it's possible for someone to simultaneously be like, don't look at me, leave me alone, and then take stage and be like, well, that's not what it looks like, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean,
I get it.
It is what it is.
I think that's a very common thread amongst most musicians, probably, 75%, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true, because, you go on tour with these guys that are like wildly successful and do all this thing, and they can be some of the weirdest people like socially ever,
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Where'd you grow up and what was your childhood like?
I'm in Haverhill right now, so I grew up just down the street. It was, regular, like
all right.
suburban-ish.
Yep.
I have 2 older brothers, 1 younger sister.
Oh, big family.
Regular. Yeah. Well, it's pretty common for when we grew up. I mean, it's not very common now, but yeah, I mean, we all went to school, did sports, got an interest in music. I mean, I'm super lucky for that. Seems to be my journey. No one else really took that journey. Very few people around us growing up took that journey. So not really sure what the catalyst was for that. I mean, I got to credit finding like-minded people like Brett. He came to our elementary school in 4th grade. And that's a journey I haven't taken mentally, is like, where would our lives be had that not happened? Because it's like, there wasn't a lot of people into music where we grew up, kind of a small town, and we didn't have the wherewithal or the thought that we could go do this, because it just didn't seem possible to get in a van and go.
All right.
So it's a kind of a wild mind experiment to think of what would have happened if Brett didn't move to where we were from. But yeah, growing up was fine. I mean, not without its challenges. Everyone has challenges,
sure,
as we know.
Yeah.
But it all kind of paved the way to either allow me to be a weirdo in my room playing guitar, and then also to, go out and interface to people. So, mixed bag.
Were your folks into music?
Yeah, big time.
Okay.
Not necessarily like the music I was into, but I mean, it was the right amount of resistance from, I know resistance is like the theme of this.
It's all right.
The right amount of resistance for me to be like, enough for me to rebel against them in that way. And then kind of come back to it later. Like, my dad was always like, he thought like the music we listened to was bullshit, as it's supposed to be. And then his music was awesome. And it turned out some of it really was. And I'm really thankful for it.
That's
my
funny.
first memory of music in general is Creedence Clearwater Revival, still one of my favorite bands. And then a band you pushed on me forever, which I was like, get this the fuck away from me. And now one of my favorite bands of all time, Steely Dan. So,
right.
It doesn't get better than that,
Yeah.
But it was a lot of country and stuff like that, and, shit I wasn't into. And it gave me just the right push to go in the other opposite direction and not have to go too far. So I, couldn't come back and start to appreciate and learn from some of that stuff. So
right on, man.
No one played music though, so that was the unique version of mine.
Yeah, that is cool. You never considered doing anything else once you went on tour, or did you?
I mean, it's like but it's that attitude that's also got me into trouble and stifled my life in a way, until recently. It's like, you don't give yourself a backup plan, and everyone else had, so, but I think, it's informed everything till now. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I always said I was like retired at like 25 and I'll work till I'm dead. You know what I mean?
Well, I think my observation is, and I've been a consultant in business for like 20 years too. The people that do things that they really align with, like spiritually and emotionally, they tend to be successful, and they tend to be happier human beings,
Yeah.
So for whatever that's worth, so keep it up. That's all I can say.
Well, it's worth a lot, because I mean, and not even like it's not even political to say this. I mean, just the general state of the world. I don't know if that's because I'm getting older and you just notice more stuff, or things were always on fire even when you were a kid. I mean, it's obviously
the world's a fucking shit show now.
Yeah, and so it's
never
like,
been this bad.
Yeah, so well, thank you for that perspective. It doesn't really matter who you are or where your beliefs align. It's like, if happiness isn't the only thing you're chasing, then I don't know what's on the other side.
Yes.
So
yeah,
I don't know.
I agree with you there. I think it's smart. Low points. What are some of the low points or dark periods you've had to deal with, and how'd you get through them?
So many. I mean, low points where, there's days on tour where you have to choose between coffee or food, like stuff like that. I mean, you don't look back on you look at it when you're through that and you go, holy shit. Cause you just kind of, you can really adapt to anything.
Yes.
Truly. And then like, obviously, there was always someone's house I could stay in, but like technically completely unhoused, like homeless, really. And, but I thought I was like a blast, truly, and then another one would be, after the self-titled record came out, we had so much momentum. The last two things we did this awesome tour with Coheed and Cambria, which made so much sense. We were received so well. And then we did a big European tour and we got home and the pandemic hit. So that was a existential soul crusher for about the first year. But, the other side of that question is like, how did you get through that? I think it allowed me to frame some things and kind of not say goodbye, but separate myself from my vision of who I had to be or what I was and then being comfortable with, who am I, what am I type stuff, I don't need, I'm going to do this forever anyway. So what does it matter? And also kind of finding a sweet spot between, is my identity solely within a band, or am I who I am and also in the band? You know what I mean? In general, the band being like the royal band, not necessarily one thing.
I get it. I think that's a tough thing. And I think that's something that everybody struggles with on and off throughout their life in general, when you work so much. Which of your personality traits do you think have contributed to your success?
Probably the ability to turn on that extrovert deep inside, because not a lot of people in any of the bands I've been in have that to a degree. So it seems like I've slotted myself into that role, which is fine. Yeah. And it actually works out perfectly too, because it's allowed Brett to not have to go hit the streets, so to speak, after a show so he could save his voice. So that's been good. I think I generally have an eagerness of wanting to be, out and do things and have experiences. So I think that I'm much more willing to say yes to something than no to something. And I think that kind of, I wouldn't call it reckless abandon, but somewhere in there has allowed me to, I don't have like a big fear of failure, like day to day, like maybe big, like macro speaking, but not micro. I think it's easy for me to take the jump, and so probably a combination of those two things.
Good for you, man. It's funny you say that. There was did you happen to watch Peaky Blinders?
I watch so little TV and movies, it frustrates people.
No, I don't. I'm not a big. If it wasn't for my wife, I would never ever watch TV. But she likes to watch TV before we go to bed.
Yeah.
That's it. I hate television. I don't watch it. I'd rather read, play guitar.
Yeah.
But we watched this show, Peaky Blinders. It was on Netflix. It was a pretty popular show about gangsters.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, but the guy at the end of like the 5th season or something, or the beginning of this, I think the end of the 5th season, he had this thing and he kept saying, "Why not?" And I said, you know what? I put that on my wall. I said, I'm going to adopt that. Yeah, why not? Like, why not? Let me just fucking do it. Why not? I don't care.
Yeah, that's
I like
cool.
that. Yeah, and that reminded me when you said that. So let's talk about gear for a few minutes. I see you get that beautiful black Les Paul there. What's your go-to guitar right now, and what other 2 guitars would round out your top 3?
100% my black Les Paul custom. Without a doubt. That's my number one. I'm desperately wanting another Les Paul right now, but I keep coming into SGs, which is,
Yeah, I saw a video with some SGs.
Yeah, for my 30th birthday after a tour, my bandmates and family all pitched in for this like Blueberry Fade. Brett and I went to NAMM and I played this as it was just like they were just showcasing it.
Yeah.
And I loved it. It has the, pickup specific for this. And I mean, the top on this thing.
It's beautiful.
It's crazy.
It's heavily crazy. Quilted, man. It's nice.
Yeah. And then the back is just, like kind of just like a deep purple. And it's hard to switch from SG to Les Paul because of the way it sits to your body so much.
I was
watching some guy play the other day, and my biggest problem with the Les Paul, besides anything above the 12th fret thing, which is every Les Paul's problem, is that the way it sits is like because the strap is right on the horn.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, when we were on the Coheed tour, they talk about neck dive. So I noticed that Claudio had his strap in the middle. So their guitar tech, fucking beautiful legend. I was like, and I just got this. I was like, do you think we could do that? He goes, I can do it. Do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah. Is it going to fuck up the guitar? He's like, no. So he did it for me, which was like amazing. So that made this one so much better. And this one, I mean, there's nothing more comfortable than sitting down and playing a Les Paul. But, in terms of playing it live, it's just, it's cumbersome. So I watched some guy, where I work on Sundays, we have jazz, and the guy had like a Les Paul style guitar, and he had his button right there. And I'm wondering now, do more people do that for the Les Paul?
Interesting.
Because the body weight, I don't think it would have a neck dive for being in the middle. So I'm wondering if it would be possible to put it there, and if I could get it more at a better angle. Because like sitting down, it's like the best, But sometimes standing up with it, it's got this kind of awkward bend to it. And it could just be like my bizarre body type as well. I mean, I can't rule that out. But
no, I don't think your body is normal, man. That SG, is that the classic 57s in there, or is it what do they have in there?
No, those are unique to that guitar. That's a style. So that's the HP, the high performance SG. So those are those own pickup. They made that for that guitar.
Okay, so you got your Les Paul Custom, your SG. What's number 3?
I don't really have a number 3 yet. I mean, this is like my first nice guitar I got. As you can see, it's pretty well Frankensteined in pieces. I actually so in my custom, I put lace Brent Hines hammer claws in it. So these are the 57s and 58 from my Les Paul.
Okay.
This is a Jackson soloist, like one piece neck through.
Okay.
That have been meaning to fix up. And obviously we have a broken machine head up here, so that's why it hasn't been in. Maybe this could be number 3. It's light. It sits well. It's a ebony fingerboard.
Beautiful fingerboard, man.
Yeah, it's awesome. This thing flies. So been looking to get this, and then this one is one I've been playing with for a while.
Do you have is that a semi hollow in the back there too?
Yeah, I have a 355 up there. 335.
You do not see like metal heavy guys with a.
Oh, that's like, I would say that's like, I love. Yeah, well, that's like the best guitar. I get the Silverburst V that I've.
That's really nice, man.
Thinking about bringing for my number 1 on the road. It's hard. Like, I love my Les Paul so much, but it's like, I wonder if I'm going to hit the same thing that a lot of people hit, because I don't just stand on stage, so I want to be able to do this for a really long time, and I'm not sure how, like, if a Les Paul is going to wreck my back or not.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you.
They put it on, they go, how do you do this? I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I just like, that's it. If I'm comfortable, I'm going to play better, and that's like the whole goal. You know what I mean? So trying some alternatives. The SG and the Vs are so light, so it's like, if I can get comfortable with these, then Dude,
you're thinking smart, because I can't tell you how many guys have are in really bad way from standing up with heavy guitars their whole career.
Yeah,
so you're thinking.
Like Les Paul, I mean, it delivers the way I want it to.
That's not chambered.
Hell no.
Oh yeah, that's like a 10-pound or a 9-pound guitar. That's really heavy.
Easily,
yeah. So you didn't have a problem. I had an SG. I loved it. It was one of the best necks I ever had. It was like a 61 reissue or something. It was like a 2013. Just happened to be that model. But I had to get rid of it because of the neck is heavier than the body. I could never get used to that.
That's the problem with that guitar. So it's like when you're playing it live, you have to have a hand on it.
Yeah.
I will say that it helped to move the strap button to the back because it where it was, it just encourages neck dive as it is. And I play it pretty high up. So, I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, if I could just take what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to go on tour and not bring the Les Paul and force myself to get used to either of the two, because the Les Paul's been my main and the others have just been backups. So,
yeah, that's what it sounds like. If you're looking at for long term, yeah, and I would encourage that, man.
But I see that strap behind you too, and I've been I have nothing with single coil. So the SG has push pulls, but I don't have anything that's strictly single coil. And see, you have a humbucker in it. But I was looking at there was this awesome teal American Strat that just like forcing yourself into something single coil. Cause I think it's the one glaring omission in my arsenal.
Well, I'll tell you what, if I was going to buy another Strat, I would get a Japanese Strat. This Strat here, right, was like $700. I think it's my favorite one. It feels, I mean,
really?
It's just all the Japanese Strats I've played, they seem really, really, I mean, they're great. Tone is great. That one over there is a few years old. It's a great Strat. That one's like a Jeff Beck. I'm selling it because I don't need 3 Strats. I don't know how I ended up with that, but I'm not a guy that collects shit.
Yeah, I don't know how I ended up with it. Yeah,
but I don't collect stuff. If I'm not using it, I'm just gonna like sell it and then save the money for something else that I will use. But I would, if you get a chance, look at the Japanese ones. I really enjoy them.
My first real guitar was a Strat, so it's almost like nice to like. I mean, I've had like my first 2 real guitars was a Strat and a SG. Someone like just stole the SG from me, and then the Strat I ended up giving to some kid when I was like, I don't know, 20. We were working at the same place, and he couldn't afford a guitar, and I had a couple, and I just gave him the Strat.
Wow, that was pretty nice.
Get back to the Strat. Yeah, I mean, it's just stuff, you know.
Do you doesn't Jackson make a Strat?
Yeah, Misha has one, and he has a custom one that he, when we did our first tour with him, we like the last day of tour or whatever, it was fun. We all switched guitars and shit, and I used his custom one. Yeah. It's so nice. And then I've been looking at some Ibanez Strats too. So I'm not sure where I'm going to go, but there's options for sure. And even like some of the new Charvel, like the Strat styles.
Yeah.
Nick, pretty slick too.
Nick, what's his name? Nick Johnston plays one of those, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know him. It sounds great. It's a great, the Charvels. And then Misha, I think, I had Misha on here. Yeah. Misha Mansour, you're talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's got a custom Strat. Yeah. But I like that Charvel too. But what are you going to do? There's too many guitars.
I know. Truly, there is. You start to go down rabbit holes like, would I be like this kind of person? I could be a Strat guy, this and that. And then you come to from the fantasy and you're like, yeah, maybe tomorrow I'll think about it, So easy to get lost in the rabbit holes.
It is. And it's such a nice, fun thing to do too. So it's easy.
I know. Yeah, talk about being an introvert. You're just in my mind, I'm furnishing the palace with everything that I could ever want. It's like, it's a sickness, truly.
Well, then you get an email from Reverb every morning. It's like
that's what it is. It puts it in my cart, and it's like it's $500 off now.
Yeah. Tell me your top 3 Desert Island discs in no particular order, just for right now, just for this moment.
Well, I mean, it's time and place, right? Like, so my answer today would be probably Mars Voltage, Laws in the Comatorium, because they've been on my mind lately. Let's see. Maybe because they just came out with a new record. I've been listening to Coheed a little bit more lately. So maybe Second Stage. Between Second Stage, Turbine Blade, and In Keeping Secrets of Silence, or 3, that'd be number 2.
Spell that band? Because you've mentioned them a couple of times. Spell
Coheed and Cambria?
Yeah.
COHEED or ampersand. CAMBRIA.
Okay.
Coheed and Cambria.
All right. And what would be number 3?
And then number 3. Man, it's tough.
I know. Number 1 and 2 always come out real quick. Number 3 is like...
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Steely Dan Asia. I've been listening to that a lot, too.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
All righty. Casey, tell me something you've done that either changed your outlook on life or changed how you look at yourself.
Wild question. Probably taking a leap and, making the what would be considered to be the non-traditional decision of, foregoing stability to try to do what you really want to do. Because even if it doesn't work, you understand like it's possible. You know what I mean? Fortunately for me, we've had some luck of it, but the fact that you could do it in general means that you could do it again. And if
on other shit
the way you want it, yeah, exactly, 100%. So probably that, yeah.
That's great. That's like I said, that's a phenomenal lesson that you learned at a young age. I really give you credit for that.
Yeah, and there's a part of me that wishes that I'd learned it younger, But I mean,
what,
you
4?
learn as you get older. No, but like truthfully, like I was like 23, so I wish I'd done it when I was like 17 or 18, So you could have had all those learning, but I don't think I would have been ready for it. But you don't learn that until you get older. That because you don't get the time back, right? So it's like the sooner you do anything, the better it is anyway. So it's like, yeah.
Hey, there are some people who never do it.
That's the thing, exactly. Yeah. It's like, it's I think the analogy of like on your deathbed is a strange one, because it's like, who knows? I mean, if you're lucky to have a deathbed, I suppose is like another thing to put in there. But yeah, you definitely don't want to be in that mind space. So it's like it's for me, it was never. It's like when.
It's funny you mention that, because I always read those articles about, and people, the number one thing is I should have done what I liked. I shouldn't have worried so much what other people think if I wanted to do this. So that you're very accurate with that. Yeah, man.
Well, it's and then again, it goes just to being the happy thing. I mean, and even in other stuff too, it's like, I know this isn't true for everyone, or this is like a strange mindset to be in, but my wife and I talk about it all the time. It's like, you can always make more money. I mean, do what you want to do. I mean, like what's the worst that's really going to happen? And I understand you have to be in a place to be able to even have that mindset. And I fully acknowledge that. However, it's like, you're still living your life and you have to be responsible for it. So we find that to be something that makes sense for us, and allows us to put ourselves in the position or mindset to try something, to be happy, not to, because like, what are you going to do? Like, not do what you want to do and then be resentful and then have a bad life anyway? Like,
no, it makes, dude, I always say you can make more money, you can't make more time. So that's why I would,
you cannot, absolutely cannot, 100%.
I'm with you on that, man. This is a tough question. What do you like and dislike most about yourself?
I think I'm quick to anger. I don't like that about myself. It's just I have a little bit of a short fuse. I've been like, as I get older, so much better at identifying it and really honing it in. But I'm quick to I'm easy. Well, I'm not easy to get there, but if the switch is flipped, it's like that.
0 to 100.
It's like blind. I wouldn't say blind rage, and like it's not like a violent blind rage within myself. It's like you won't know it'll be flipped, and it's like, watch out. It doesn't matter who's in front of me. I don't love that about myself.
That'll get fixed. Age fixes that. Don't worry.
Yeah, for sure. Well,
I promise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not necessarily with the things that you'd think it would be too, because it's like it catches me off guard. But yeah, that's probably what I don't like about myself the most.
And what do you like about yourself the most?
It's a great question. I like that I don't think a lot of people would like this, but I like that I live a little bit in the clouds. I can dwell in a little bit of a fantasy world. I think it makes it more fun.
Good for you, man.
I think if you catch me in that mode, it's probably makes me a fun person to be around.
That's awesome, man. It's good that you like that about yourself. Best childhood memory.
Best childhood memory. You automatically default to like the Christmas, right? That's like that cool thing. As I get older though, it's like, it becomes like, oh, when was the time that me and my brothers and sisters were all in a room with like uninhibited responsibility, no kids, no anything. That's probably what I'd go through now, like a big gathering of us, probably.
That's great, man. Most important thing your father taught you.
I would say that's a kind of an interesting question, because I would say nothing. It was a conversation I had with my mom far after his passing that kind of clarified something for me, that made me realize that, reframe maybe where I got something, maybe my tenacity and willingness to take the jump. I found out something that he, quote unquote, took the jump for when he believed in himself early on, that no one really believed in him, and it kind of reframed something for me. So I would say that I learned a lesson after the fact, but I'm old enough and mature enough now to be able to identify that maybe that's something I picked up from him, not knowing.
Cool. How about your mom? What's the most important thing she taught you?
My mom's the best. She's like unconditional. I mean, and I would say that I learned it like the opposite. Like, she's been selfless to almost a fault. You know what I mean? To her detriment many times. So kind of, you can have that quality about you, but don't let it turn on you, in a way.
You don't get that. You know what, man? I've spent a lot of time thinking about that, and I realize the people I know that are like that, like my wife is very much like that. It's not possible. You can't have all that. People that have people that are naturally.
You give people the shirt off your back, you're eventually going to run out of shirts.
Right.
Is what I'm saying. Yeah.
But people who are naturally good and kind, they don't ration that. It's I know. I totally get it, man. Yeah.
Yeah. You can eventually run out of yourself.
Yeah. You can.
Mm-hmm.
You have any hobbies outside of music?
Oh boy. I mean, I like to play video games. That's one thing, but it's almost like the same track of mind that allows me to play guitar a lot,
Interesting.
It's like kind of the same world you're dealing. It's world building. It's tactile, and the more, again, it's about resistance and getting older seems to be the theme of this conversation, but like you connect things, you like start to compartmentalize things. I like hanging with my wife and the dog, walking, that kind of stuff. Like the most basic stuff to me is the best stuff. And I think that's like a lot of people would say that, you know what I mean?
You're like a newlywed, right?
Yeah. Yesterday.
You got married yesterday?
Yesterday.
You're kidding me. And you're with me today? Oh my God.
Can you believe it, Craig?
No, you poor thing. First of all, congratulations to you guys, man.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Appreciate it.
Holy shit. You should have called me up and said, Craig, I just got married, man. Oh my God.
Hey, man, it's all right.
Oh
Why?
my God. Your honeymoon with Craig Garber. That's why. Oh my God. Well,
anyway.
Congratulations, man. Best of luck to you guys.
It's almost like I'm in Florida, right?
That's that. Yeah, man. That's wild. Well, that's awesome, man. Congratulations. That's really cool. Holy shit. That's wild.
I'm psyched.
That's a first, man. I got married yesterday.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, in fact, we were like, yeah, we have to go and break some stuff down. I was like, well, I got that podcast at 12.
Oh my God. Oh God. I feel horrible, man. If you would have called me up,
no, because we couldn't have rescheduled this one more time. It felt like so long since I first talked to you.
No, but
it was like winter when I first talked to you.
I'm sorry, man. Oh, I feel horrible.
No, don't be.
I just hope every good event you do is not followed by like an interview.
Oh no. This is fun anyway. So I mean, imagine if it was just like if this is just like a round of pressers, I would not have done it. But this was something I was looking forward to.
All right. Well, cool. Thanks. Tell me about I can't believe you got married yesterday. That is so fucking cool. Oh my God. That is so cool. Talk about a specific experience that changed your life or changed the way you think about things.
I would say it's like a memories I morph into one. It's people passing in your life, right? And like why they passed and what their story was and where they were in their life. And you start to put yourself in that position and how could you, if like how do you want your life to go? What things it goes back to like making the jump and like being like, I should have done this earlier. But really the lesson is like, the fact that you did it anyway, you know what I mean? And not having to forego things because something else got in the way. Because what you did was you let the time pass and those things happened anyway, you know? So really capitalizing on time. It's like having the time, it's like you said, you can't make more time.
Not at all. Yeah.
And being present, being a little bit in the moment, it's easier to let things passively go by you, but you know, making core memories and knowing that you can decide to do that too is a pretty powerful tool when you grow older. So that too. Yeah, it's all wrapped into one.
Awesome.
It's sad that you think that, you know, as you get older, most of your lessons are learned from things that people haven't done, or, you know, things that you perceive them to be left behind or unfinished business, but it really surely arms you with the tools going forward. You know, it's almost like your last gift to you going away.
Tuition's not free.
No.
Most fun thing you've ever done, Casey?
Man,
you've probably done loads.
Everything. I feel like I don't do anything that's not fun because it's not worth doing. I mean, from going on a walk with my new wife and a dog to playing a show, I think everything in my life is fun. Work's fun. It truly feels like that. It almost feels like I'm spoiled in that way. Sitting alone in a room playing guitar is fun. Getting on the Peloton is fun. I don't think I do anything that's not fun. But that's like, it's funny. It's like, what do you not like about yourself the most? It's like, try to get me to do something that's not fun that I don't want to do isn't very fun.
That's great.
It's not a good mood.
But you know, you could do the run the rest of your life like that. So there's nothing wrong. You know, that'd be fine. And last question is, biggest change in your personality, let's say over the last 5 years, and where do you see yourself going in the next 5 to 10 years?
I think it sounds corny to say, but just the maturity in general, it's like prioritizing things and just realizing what's important now and not getting caught up in stuff and, you know, running around. I think when you're a creative person, it's really easy to get lost in something, chase something down a rabbit hole, and just knowing how to identify if it's going to be worth it, but you don't have to do it right now. There's time to do it later, you know, and just prioritizing things in that way. Where my life's going in 5 years, I guess, is anyone's bet. I hope it's more. I hope it's more of what I'm doing, and you just continue to do it at a higher level in every way. It doesn't matter, you know, marriage, friendship, work, the band, everything. You know, doing it better, bigger level.
Right on, man. Well, I really expect a lot of good things from Astronoid. You guys are a great band. Yeah, your catalog has grown, and your musicality has grown, and you guys seem like you're all having a good time. So I think I don't see any reason why that won't happen. And thanks for everything, man. Let me tell people where to find you. It's Astronoid, Astronoid. Go to astronoidband.com, and the band will be out touring in early September. You could also find, are those American Day? Is that where you're headlining?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
No, we're not doing, it's a tour of bands, Holy Fawn, and it's like a 2.5 week thing. We'll do obviously probably some headlining stuff out or back. Not 100% sure yet, but yeah, it's North America.
That's awesome. You ever come down here to Florida?
Oh, many times.
Do you really?
Many times.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
Down Orlando, Jacksonville, Tampa, multiple times, probably Pensacola once or twice.
Oh, you've been all around. Florida's a tough state to tour because it's really big.
It's huge. Yeah. It's like Texas. You can drive for 2 straight days and not be out of it.
Yeah.
It's going down. Yeah.
Easily, man. Follow the band on the socials. Also Instagram. You can find Casey there and follow him. And I would love you to check out the band, the music. I'll tell you right now, my favorite record is the second album, Astronoid, but the new album's great. They're just a really fun band, and the music it's really cool. You know, if you're into shoegaze and metal, they do it as fine as anybody can do it, or better than anybody does it. Really, I haven't heard too many bands do this, as you said. But I love the new record, and I love even the cover. The cover of the new record is pretty cool.
Travis Smith, huge shout out, Travis Smith.
Yeah,
he couldn't have done it better, and something from nothing. Talk about that. That's very impressive. theartoftravissmith.com, I believe.
Very cool. So check that out. And any final words of wisdom, man?
No, this has been a blast. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for your time. I
this
can't
is
believe you
nice
just
to
got
do.
married, man. I'm so happy for
isn't
you,
that
man.
fun?
That's so cool. Yeah, congratulations.
I'm happy too. Thanks so much, Craig.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, hold on 1 second, and we'll wrap up. Everybody, thank you for your time, man. It's been really great, and
Yeah,
I
of course.
appreciate it. Everybody, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, please share it on your socials. We appreciate your support. Thanks to Casey Aylward from Astronoid. Please check out the band's music on Astronoid Band. And most important, remember that happiness is a choice, so choose wisely. Be nice, go play your guitar, and have fun. Until next time, peace and love, everybody. I am out. Casey, thanks for everything, brother.
Thanks, man.